Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this morning. We'll go ahead and get started. Today's session will be on Desk Connect, and we'll be showing you the essentials that you'll need to know about the bidirectional sync between Salesforce and Desk. Now, this is part 205 of our webinar series for this month, so if you haven't already, go ahead and visit the registration page for the remaining webinar sessions. In those sessions, we'll be looking at some advanced admin features, essentials for your agent users, as well as taking a look at business insights. So my name is Brian Suh. I'm the onboarding and training specialist here at Desk, and I have here with my colleagues Brett and Andy. Do you guys want to give a brief introduction of yourselves?
Yep, thanks for that intro, Brian. My name is Brett Schuneman. I am a product manager, senior product manager actually, here at Desk.com. I have a couple of teams here, one of which being the team that built Desk Connect. So super happy to be on the webinar. Really happy that everyone took the time out of their busy day to listen to me babble up here. So for those of you on the West Coast, thanks for getting up early.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andy. I work in our customer success team as a solutions consultant. I help with the implementation process. At the same time, I help with our customers with enabling our new Salesforce innovation, Desk Connect.
All right, thanks so much for joining, guys. So before we begin, just a few housekeeping items. Following our training session will be a short Q&A. So as the training proceeds, please feel free to type your questions into the GoToWebinar questions panel, and we'll do our best to get them all answered towards the end of the session. Now, our session today is being recorded, so if you can't stay with us the entire time, that's okay. We'll be emailing the recording within 24 hours, and we'll also be posting the videos on our YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in and learn more about Desk Connect. Brett and Andy?
All right. Thank you, Brian. So first, I'd like to begin this webinar by talking about what is Desk Connect? What are we talking about here? Desk Connect is the full bidirectional sync between Desk and Salesforce. And you may be asking yourself, well, that's great, but what the heck are we syncing here? And so by default, out of the box, Desk Connect is going to sync with the three main CRM objects between Desk and Salesforce, meaning the case, the contact, and the account between Desk and Salesforce. And now we currently have, or we have an old integration with Salesforce that uses a custom case object inside of Salesforce. And now with Desk Connect, the full bidirectional sync, we actually use the standard case object in Salesforce completely out of the box, so you can take care of all those canned reports that are already set up for you inside of Salesforce. And now we don't only sync the case, contacts, and account, the objects, we also synchronize interactions on the case as well. So for example, if you're reaching out to your customers are reaching out to you, those interactions are being captured in Desk. We actually push those interactions over to the case in Salesforce. So anybody looking at that case in Salesforce is going to be able to see the complete customer history and the complete interactions that you've had with the customers. So now that's great, but why is this important? Why do we want to connect sales and service? Well, there's a couple main points here, and really it's about achieving that 360-degree view of the customer that even Mark Benioff talks about. It's about having a complete view from the customer history to all the interactions the customers had to even information about opportunities or sales sales information that you've had with the customer. So from a sales perspective, we know that your sales team is going to be more effective if they have access to customer service cases, and that's one of the main features of Desk Connect is being able to connect your sales team that's living in Salesforce and your customer service team that's living in Desk. So, for example, your customer service team is creating cases in Desk. Those cases are being synchronized over to Salesforce. And now when your sales team is looking at an opportunity, for example, and they look at the contact, they're able to see all of the customer service history from that contact. So then they're able to go into the sales deal and say, listen, I know you've had 7 open cases with us. We've solved the last 4. And the last 3 are currently in development. And ultimately, that's going to make the customer much happier. It's going to make the customer trust you as a brand more and make your sales team way more effective. And on the flip side of that, we know that your service team is going to have a better experience with the customer if they have some sales data coming in as well. The the salesperson can write a note or an internal case comment in Salesforce on the case that says, listen, I reached out, the customer's very unhappy, just so you know before you reach out to this customer for the customer service case. So it's equally as important for your service team to have access to information from sales as it is your sales team to have information from your service team. And ultimately, it's about getting that 360-degree view of the customer, as I spoke about before. Now, I'd like to switch it over to Mr. Andy Kim here to talk about some important things to consider while you're setting up Desk Connect before and after.
Awesome. Thanks, Brett. So I'm going to be talking about a couple prerequisites needed to actually enable this awesome feature. What's going to happen is I'm going to share a couple important notes and prerequisites needed about this feature, and Brett is actually going to walk us through the steps of enabling Desk Connect and showing us the full demo as well. So before we even get the integration up and running, here are the prerequisites that are enabled Desk Connect. First, the first most important thing is obviously you want to be a Salesforce customer. You want to have a Salesforce Professional Edition or above. What we're going to do is Brett is going to check in Salesforce a couple standard fields such as the priority. We want to make sure the pick list values have been added correctly for the integration purpose. And then the two fields that we check are your case priority and your case status. So in Salesforce, what we need to do as a system administrator, we need to double check and go into setup and make sure that the priority has these values and the status, your case status has these values as well. Once we confirm that from the Desk side, you want to make sure that you as a Desk customer, you're on a Desk Professional Plan or above. It's the same thing as being on the Salesforce Professional Plan or above. We're going to talk about object mapping. So Brett gave us a brief information of the three standard objects that we map, and those are case, contact, and accounts. In Desk, we call contact customer. So any customer records that are created in the Desk application using Desk Connect, these will get synced over to your Salesforce contact. In Desk, we call accounts company records. So whenever you create a company record in the Desk application, what's going to happen is we're going to be able to sync over to your Salesforce account. For contact, we actually use the email address as your unique identifier and also the phone number to match the contact record in Salesforce. For the account, we use the account name to match the record. Lastly, case to case. We are able to sync Desk cases in Salesforce, and we'll be able to create this case under the appropriate contact and account as well. Lastly, you want to make sure in Salesforce that your standard case object is displayed within your context and account layouts. So if you're using an install package integration, which we have offer today, you'll notice that these cases are going to a custom object called Desk.com cases. Using Desk Connect, what we do is we're going to be able to sync to the native case object that comes with Salesforce, so that you as an administrator can actually run better reporting in Salesforce and be able to create better dashboards. Okay. Let's talk about post-enablement. So here's some of the important thinking notes. When we enable Desk Connect, only new cases, customers, and company records that are created or edited in either system will be able to sync. So you're mentioning that, hey, I enabled Desk Connect, there are a couple of historical data that I want to be able to sync. Is that possible? And it is possible. All you have to do is, let's say that you, in Desk.com, you have a couple cases. After you enable Desk Connect, you want these cases to exist in Salesforce. All you have to do as a Desk agent or administrator is to initiate a bulk update. You don't necessarily have to change any status or field. Once you open the case and click edit, the system will be able to sync the case over to Salesforce. Obviously, one more thing to note about is the standard case object. What I mentioned before, the cases do get synced over the native case object. So within the related list in Salesforce, you want to make sure that this case object is visible. If not, then you would need to contact the Salesforce administrator and edit the layout so that those are visible there. Okay. Let's talk about syncing time. whenever you make any edit from Desk.com or create a case, create a new customer, what's going to happen is these updates will get synced instantly over to Salesforce. Whenever you're making any changes from Salesforce side, it does take up to 5 minutes to appear within Desk. Okay. Field mapping. So what's great about Desk Connect is we give you the ability to bidirectionally sync information, but on top of that, we have the ability to map fields. So if you have custom fields created in Salesforce, you have the ability to map those all over to Desk so that your Desk agents have the ability to see that information. Here are the standard field mappings per object. So for case, when we enable Desk Connect, we'll be able to automatically map the status, priority, subject, and the description without having to do additional setup. For contact, it is your contact name, title, phone, and email. For account is your account name. And these are the standard fields that will get automatically mapped once we enable Desk Connect. If you want to map your custom field, here are the 4 data types that we have the ability to sync with. That's text, pick list, checkbox, and date. And actually, I wanted to talk about this point right here. Case number is not synced by default. I have helped numerous customers with enabling Desk Connect, and obviously the Salesforce case number is different from the Desk case number. So a lot of our customers are wanting to know, hey, how do I make sure that when my Salesforce representatives log into Salesforce, how can I know quickly what Desk case number that this case is associated with? So what we can do is we can actually achieve that with the custom field mapping. And if you actually want to learn more about how you want to create that workflow, you can always reach out to us as well. Okay. Lastly, the point, the Desk Connect integration does not count against the Salesforce API limit. For the Salesforce administrators that are conscious about your API limit that comes with your plan, luckily with the Desk Connect does not count against the Salesforce API limit. Okay. And now I'm going to actually hand the screen over to Brett, and Brett is actually going to demo and give us the full and highlight the full customer use case on how we can enable Desk Connect on your site.
Great, thank you, Andy. That is fantastic information. And so as Andy said, I'm just going to do a quick demo here. I'm going to also show you how to set up a couple of those things that Andy was talking about, some of the common customer asks we get when we do enable Desk Connect for your organization. So first, I'm just going to show you exactly what you need to do to set up Desk Connect, before we even start synchronizing cases. So for example, Andy mentioned that we need to make sure in Salesforce that the case priority and case status values, pick list values, match that of Desk, because you actually can't change those in Desk. Case priority and case status in Desk are not able to be changed. You can't add statuses, you can't add priorities, and you can't edit those. So in order to maintain data continuity, we just want to make sure that there's a one-to-one mapping there. So simply in Salesforce, all you have to do is you log into Salesforce, go up to the top right-hand side of the screen, you click on Setup, you go over to the left-hand side of the screen into the search box and type in Cases, and then click on Fields. Now, the first field we mentioned before was the priority field. So I'm going to scroll down here, click on the priority field. And we just want to make sure for case priority that we see high, medium, and low. Those are the 3 values that we want to make sure exist in Salesforce underneath case priority. So once we make sure that high, medium, low exists there, simply we can just click back to case fields or click back on your browser and just go back to the list of standard case fields that we do have here. Now, next, we need to make sure that the statuses are the same as well. And we want to see these 5 statuses listed in Salesforce. We want to see new, open, pending, resolved, and closed. So those are the 5 statuses that we want to see in Salesforce. We want to make sure that those exist before we even turn on the integration. So those are the two setup steps that we recommend doing in Salesforce before we even enable Desk Connect. So now, assuming that our Salesforce org is prepped and ready, I'll go over to Desk and show you what we need to do. So to enable Desk Connect in your Desk.com admin, all you need to do is navigate down to Desk Connect, click on Settings, and simply turn it on in the top right-hand side of the screen. That is the entire Desk Connect setup. Now, if you'd like to learn more or enable Desk Connect, simply reach out to your account executive, and we can get the process rolling. It should be a very, very quick.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that Brett is actually showing you the screen where you are able to see Desk Connect tab. For all the audiences, you won't be able to see them. You probably, if you go into the admin and try to go into settings and Desk Connect, you probably won't be able to see that option. This is because you actually need to reach out to your account representative, and they will schedule a call with either Brett or myself so that we can be on the call with you. We actually need to enable that internally from our end so that you have the ability to see the Desk Connect tab.
Yep, and that's simply, the purpose of the call is simply just to allow you to ask any last-minute questions, bring up any comments or concerns with how the syncing functionality and behavior is going to impact both of your organizations. So, as Andy said, if you don't see Desk Connect in your admin, just reach out to your account representative and they'll get a call scheduled immediately. So now that we have Desk Connect enabled, let's take a look at a couple of examples of how the syncing actually behaves. So here we are in the next generation agent desktop, the same next generation agent desktop that everybody knows and loves. And simply what I'm going to do is create a case. So I'm going to click the plus button up here. I'm going to search for a customer. Let's search for Mr. Larry Baxter. He's one of my favorites. And simply, I'm going to create a case. So now you can see that I've created a case here. I've got the relevant customer information on the left-hand side here, including email, phone number. I've got his account information below that. I've got all the case details that I can fill out as an agent on the right-hand side. And before I even show you Salesforce, I want to show you the Salesforce widget that we have. So obviously, now that Desk Connect is enabled, we have a linked record in Salesforce. So we're able to pull in all of this relevant contact information from Salesforce. We can pull in things that don't exist in Desk, like Salesforce activities or tasks. We can see that someone has scheduled an activity for 6/29. It was a follow-up email, or they spoke to a certain person at that company. We can even show you the relevant account information in Salesforce, all on this contact record, all living in Salesforce. So now, I want to be able to identify this case that we've created in Salesforce. So I'm going to give it a memorable subject, a memorable description. I'm going to assign it to an agent. Let's just assign it to myself. And then I'm simply going to update the case. So now, let's flip on over to Salesforce and see what happened. So I'm going to click on Cases. I'm going to click Go. And you can see that this case was automatically created inside of Salesforce instantaneously. So now I can click into this case, and I'm just going to show you around here. You can see that the subject I entered in Desk transferred over. As Andy Kim mentioned, we have a set of standard field mappings that we take care of for you out of the box, that you don't need to do anything. You don't need to set up any field mappings with Desk Connect for the integration to work. Now, we've mapped subject for you. We've mapped description. We can see that the case origin is an email case, just like in Desk.com. We can see that the status is new. Now, I want to show you that not only is the case created, but we also have the relevant contact and account an account as well inside of Salesforce. So if I click on over back to Desk, we can see that Larry Baxter was the person who created this case. So not only do we sync over the case, contact, and account, we also keep that referential integrity intact. We make sure to maintain those important relationships between your cases, contacts, and accounts in both Desk and in Salesforce. And as I mentioned before, it's not just the fields that sync, it's also the interactions on the case. So let's say I need to reach back out to Mr. Larry Baxter and say, receive your case. hello, Larry. I've received your case. Okay, so now I'm going to send this reply back to Larry from Desk.com. Okay, so now I will show you what that looks like in Salesforce. All I need to do is refresh the screen here. And you can see that we now have an email with the status of sent listed underneath the case inside of Salesforce that I can click into. I can see the to address, who I'm sending this to. I can see the subject. I can see the text body. And as I mentioned before, this is extremely important for anybody living in Salesforce to see the conversation history that your agents inside of Desk have had with the customer, so they're able to get that full 360-degree view of the customer, as I was talking about before. So it's not only the case fields, the interactions, but it's also the contact in the account as well. So let me click into this contact here, and I noticed that his title is wrong. It says EVP of Business Dev. I don't know what the heck that is, so let's go ahead and go over to Desk and change that. So I can see it's the same in Desk. I'm going to change it to EVP of Business Development. Click on Save. So now I've updated Mr. Larry Baxter's title. Let's go over to Salesforce and see what happens. So I'm on the contact record, the relevant person account record inside of Salesforce. I'm just going to refresh the screen here. I want you to take note of the title. The title now says EVP of Business Development. So as I mentioned before, it's not only the cases and interactions that sync, it's also the contact in the account as well. So all of these fields are completely in sync. Changes from Salesforce are going to make it back to Desk, and changes from Desk are going to go into Salesforce. So that is the basic Desk Connect demo. Now I'd like to show you a couple of pointers or setup tips really quickly, to enhance your integration. Some of the common questions that we do get asked. And the first is the Desk case number, as Andy mentioned. The Desk case number is not synced over by default because Salesforce and Desk are different. They're going to have different case numbers, although the cases are going to be linked. So what you need to do is set up a field mapping, a custom field mapping, as Andy can mention. So we need to make sure that there's a custom field on the case in Salesforce, a custom field on the case in Desk, and then we're going to want to link those two. So simply what you do in Salesforce is you go over to Salesforce, you go up to Setup again on the top right-hand side of the screen. Again, we're going to go to that search box, the handy-dandy search box, type in cases. It's going to auto-filter. We're going to click on Fields. And then we see that all the case standard fields. We're going to scroll on down and go to the case custom fields. And simply we're going to create a new case custom field. We're going to name it Salesforce Loads. We're going to name it Desk Case Number. And as soon as Salesforce loads through the power of television, great. So we're going to create the field as type text. Again, name it Desk Case Number. Loading music I can sing if anybody wants to hear me sing. That's great. Okay, so assume I've already done this, which I have. So we're going to create Desk Case Number inside of Salesforce, right? And I've already done this here. So you can see that I've created a custom field inside of Salesforce named Desk Case Number. As type text, I put a limit of 50. You can put a limit of whatever you want on it. So now we need to make sure that we have a corresponding case number custom field inside of Desk. So I'm going to go over to the Desk.com admin, go to Cases, go to Cases again on the left-hand side, and simply create a custom field that matches that Salesforce custom field. And we're going to call it Desk Case Number again and make it of type text. So now we've got both custom fields created. We simply need to map those two, as Andy mentioned before. So we're going to go to Settings on the top right-hand side of the screen. Click on Desk Connect in the bottom left-hand side of the screen. and then click on the field mappings portion underneath Desk Connect on the bottom left-hand side of the screen there. Now, for field mappings, you can see that we have 3 tabs here related to the 3 objects that are going to be synced between Desk and Salesforce. So we've got the Company tab, the Customer tab, and the Case tab. And if you notice, that custom field that I created in Salesforce for the case is going to be listed on the left-hand side here. You see we've got Desk Case Number. So that's the field I created in Salesforce. I've created the corresponding custom field in Desk. And simply, I just need to map these 2. So I click on the drop-down, I map it, and I click Save. Okay? So now the custom fields are created, the custom fields are mapped. The last thing we need to do, last but not least, is use a case created rule in Desk to populate that custom field with the Desk case number. So simply we click on Cases, Rules, Case Created. You can see I've already got this rule here, but I'll show you exactly what it looks like. So we're going to name it Desk Case Number, and simply the rule action is going to be setting this custom field that we created. Again, it's set case Desk Case Number. That's the name of the custom field we created. And then we're going to use Desk's templating language called Liquid to populate this with the corresponding case ID. And this is the Liquid that you're going to need to use in order to achieve that. So it's just 2 brackets and then case.id. So now, anytime a case is created inside of Desk.com, and I'll show you this here, we're going to populate that custom field with the Desk Case Number. And now, because that field is mapped, that value is going to go over to Salesforce. So if I scroll down here on this case, you can see that the case that I just created inside of Desk for the webinar, we've populated that with the Desk Case Number. Now, when I go over to Salesforce, I'm going to view that corresponding case again. The memorable subject, here we go, this is it. And you can see that the Desk Case Number has been populated inside of Salesforce as well. Now, if you notice, I've also created a custom field called Desk Assigned Agent as well. So a lot of times, your sales team or whoever's in Salesforce wants to know what agent is currently working on it inside of Desk.com. Now, to do that, it's going to be the exact same setup as we did for Desk Case Number. We're going to create a custom field in Salesforce, a custom field in Desk, both of type text. We're going to map those 2 through the field mapping section like I showed before. And then simply, we're going to populate that with a rule as I have here. And it's the exact same type of rule. You name it Desk Assigned Agent, and you just use the different Liquid variable here, which I've listed out. It's going to be case.user.name. So again, as soon as the case is created, it's going to populate that with whoever is working on the case inside of Desk. And as I've shown you in Salesforce, we can see that the Desk Assigned Agent also was populated over as well. So these are 2 of the common scenarios that customers reach out to us for and ask how to do it. So you simply create the custom fields, you map them, and then you populate those values inside of Desk with the Liquid values. Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about for the webinar is a feature that we call Selective Sync. So by default, out of the box, Desk is going to synchronize every single new case, contact, and account created in either system. Now, for a lot of our customers, that behavior is fine, but some of our customers don't want to sync every single case, contact, and account between the 2 systems. They only want to sync a subset of your cases, contacts, and accounts. And that's why we developed a feature that we call Selective Sync. And simply, you click on Settings again in the Desk.com admin on the top right-hand side of the screen. You click on Desk Connect. And the default screen that you're going to see when you click on Desk Connect is our Selective Sync screen. And as you can see here, we've got Selective Sync settings for the 3 CRM objects that we are going to be syncing: the company, the customer, and the case. And again, as Andy mentioned, company is analogous to accounts, customer is analogous to contacts, and case is obviously the same as case. So let's say I don't want to sync every case over. I only want to sync a subset of those. So I can do that with a Selective Sync rule. So I've created a drop-down on the case in Desk that says sync to Salesforce. And I'm going to default that to no, because maybe I want to allow my agents to identify something about the case and say only synchronize over cases that match this criteria. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to add an all condition, and these are the same kind of conditions that one would use to set up a rule inside of Desk. It's the same paradigm. So I've created a drop-down, as I mentioned, on the case inside of Desk, and I've called it sync to Salesforce and yes. So what I've done here is I've set up a selective sync rule to say only synchronize cases over to Salesforce that meet this condition, that have this pick list value set to yes. Okay, so now I'm going to save this. I'm going to come back to the Desk.com Next Generation Agent Desktop. I'm going to create another case for Mr. Larry Baxter. Here we go. Now, this time, I'm going to enter in another subject that's just going to allow us to identify test selective sync webinar, test description, and then I'm going to update. Okay? But if you notice, the sync to Salesforce field value that we have there is still set to no. I'm an agent working on the case. I haven't yet identified whether or not this case should belong in Salesforce or not. So I'm working on the case, and I want to show you in Salesforce. Now I'm going to go to my list of cases. This case has not made it over to Salesforce yet. It's not existing in Salesforce because we have set up that selective sync rule to not synchronize it over. Now I'm going to switch back over to Desk. Let's say as an agent, I've identified that this case, yes, in fact, should be over in Salesforce. Mr. Larry Baxter is a very, very important customer. We want to make sure that that case goes over to Salesforce. All I need to do, simply, is I'll sign to myself just to be a good agent here in Desk. And I'm going to set this sync to Salesforce value to yes. Okay? So I've set sync to Salesforce to yes. I'm going to update this case. So now the selective sync rule that I set up is going to be satisfied. We've satisfied that the criteria that we've set up for the case. Now when I go over to Salesforce, I want you to watch what happens when I refresh this list view. You can see the selective sync webinar case made it over to Salesforce. So it matched the criteria. Now this case is living over in Salesforce. You can see that we've got Desk assigned agent synced over. We've got the Desk case number. So this is a great way using selective sync to show, to synchronize, a smaller subset of the records between Desk and Salesforce. So that's it for our demo. We've got some housekeeping items to chat about now. There's some resources here. You can go to help.desk.com/onboarding-webinars to find all the webinar videos that we've done, and specifically this one. We're going to be posting this one shortly. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this webinar or about Desk in general, please reach out to support@desk.com. And again, we mentioned before, but if you're not seeing Desk Connect in your admin and you'd like to set this up, please reach out to your account executives, your account representative, and ask them to set up Desk Connect, and they will get a meeting scheduled with Mr. Andy Kim or myself very shortly. Brian, Andy, do you guys have anything to add?
Thanks, Brent and Andy. That was really helpful, and thank you so much for sharing your expertise on Desk Connect. Why don't we go ahead and fill some questions at this point? Let's see here. The first one, I think we might have answered this earlier, but how do I get started if I don't have Desk Connect?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So again, you're going to simply shoot an email over to your account rep asking them to get Desk Connect set up, and then it's a very, very short process. They will get a meeting scheduled with Andy or myself very, very quickly, and we'll set up Desk Connect for you.
Okay. Next question, how much does it cost?
Yeah, so Desk Connect is not an add-on feature. It is built into all Desk plans that are Professional Edition and above. So if you have a Desk Pro plan, you're eligible to take advantage of Desk Connect.
Okay. Great. Does Desk Connect work in the Classic and Next Gen agent?
Great question. So I only showed the Next Generation agent today, but Desk Connect does work with both our Classic agent and the Next Generation agent. You shouldn't notice any functionality differences with Desk Connect between the both agents that we do have.
And I think this one was also mentioned, but when I turn on Desk Connect, will all my historical data in Salesforce sync to Desk?
Great question. So Andy Kim mentioned before, but as soon as Desk Connect is enabled, we're only going to synchronize over new records created in either system or any records that are edited. So Andy gave you a great workaround. If you would like to sync any of those historical records from Desk or from Salesforce, you simply just need to provide or perform, a bulk edit of any of those records, and it's going to synchronize between either system.
Great. Next question here. I don't have a Salesforce admin on my team to create some of the custom fields that you talked about. Can you guys help with the setup?
We can, although with Desk, we're not set up to log into your Salesforce org and do that. That would be a question and something you should reach out to Salesforce support for. You can simply shoot an email to Salesforce support asking them for either admin rights or to set up those the case status and case pick list values for you. So that's what I would recommend doing.
Another one here. Some of my agents have access to both Salesforce and Desk. Are there some best practices of which to use when making changes to customer information?
Yeah, so we've designed Desk Connect in a way that will actually allow agents to be working inside of Desk or Salesforce at the same time, and you shouldn't see any data continuity differences. It's designed to allow agents to be working in both systems. So, best practice is simply just to use Desk or Salesforce. Whatever is best for your company's workflow is what I would recommend doing.
Okay. I think we have time for a couple more questions here. Do I need to contact my AE to turn on Selective Sync as well as Desk Connect?
Nope. As soon as Desk Connect is turned on, Selective Sync is available for you out of the box.
Okay. Let's go with one last one here. How can we deal with duplicate values between the two databases? Is there a master and a slave for the sync?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And inside of Desk, the email address for a given contact is going to be the unique identifier. So inside of Desk, you can't have a contact with more than, or you can't have multiple contacts with the same email address. So what we do is we try to match a given contact in Salesforce by that email address. So we recommend having contacts in Salesforce have a unique email address. Now I know that that's not going to be a best solution for some of our customers, but inside of Desk we can only have one contact with a given email address, and that's how we match contacts in Salesforce. But that being said, with regards to the master, we do consider Salesforce the master record database. So knowing that it's the master, you should be able to proceed forward. So again, contact email address is going to be the unique identifier, but we do consider Salesforce the master of record.
And let's see if we have one last question. Can I change the sync times between Desk and Salesforce?
Not currently. Again, great question. Generally, customer feedback that we have had is 5 minutes is an acceptable time to go from Salesforce into Desk. Although that being said, we do have something on the roadmap to potentially address that maybe later on this year or getting into next year to allow you to change the time. But currently, you cannot do that.
Okay. I think that wraps it up for the questions. Once again, Andy, Brett, thank you so much for joining. We hope that you guys enjoyed today's session. If you guys have any other questions, please feel free to email us at support@Desk.com. Thank you, and take care, everyone.